Hello, second year students. Today I am going to begin the textual study of Charles Lamb's essay, The Convalescent. I had already given you an introduction of this essay in the previous class. So today let's read the text. The word the convalescent means a person who is recovering after an illness, and in the essay, Lamb himself is the convalescent. And he starts by saying, a pretty severe fit of indisposition, which under the name of a nervous fever has made a prisoner of me for some weeks past, and is but slowly leaving me, has reduced me to an incapacity of reflecting upon any topic foreign to itself. Expect no healthy conclusions from me this month, reader. I can offer you only sick man's dreams. So Lamb starts by saying that a pretty severe fit of indisposition. Indisposition means a sickness, an illness, a very serious attack of sickness, which is called a nervous fever, has made a prisoner of me. His body is being trapped inside this disease for last few weeks and is but slowly leaving me, has reduced me to an incapacity of reflecting upon any topic foreign to itself. And now his body is recovering from the illness, but has reduced me to an incapacity of reflecting upon any topic foreign to itself. This disease has brought him to a condition where he is unable to think anything else besides his sickness. An incapacity of reflecting upon any topic foreign to itself. Foreign means something that is not related to the disease, not known to the disease. He cannot reflect upon anything but his sickness. Expect no healthy conclusions from me this month, reader. I can offer you only sick man's dream. His mind is being occupied with his illness, and he tells the reader to not to expect, to not to hope from him any healthy conclusions. Healthy conclusions means a sound reasoning or good thoughts and reflections. So he's telling his readers to not to expect anything good from him, for only he can offer now is sick man's dreams. He can only think from a sick man's point of view. And truly, the whole state of sickness is such, for what else is it but a magnificent dream for a man to lie abed and draw daylight curtains about him, shutting out the sun to induce a total oblivion of all the works which are going on under it. And he says, what else does a sick man can do? What else does a man can do during the state of sickness besides lying in a bed and shutting out the sunlight with curtains to induce a total oblivion, to be in a state of complete unconsciousness. Lying in a bed is like a magnificent dream in which the worldly activities go in a state of oblivion, in a state of unconsciousness, and in which the worldly activities go unnoticed. Shutting out the sun to induce a total oblivion of all the works which are going on under it. To become insensible to all the operation of life except the beating of one feeble pulse. A sick man becomes insensible, becomes numb to all the activities of life except one thing, and that is the beating of weakened pulse. Weakened because of the sickness. If there be a regal solitude, it is a sick bed. How the patient lords it there. What caprices he acts without control. How king-like he sways his pillow, tumbling and tossing and shifting, and lowering and thumping and flattening and moulding it to the ever-varying requisitions of his throbbing temples. What caprices? Caprice means whims, fancies, how whimsical he acts, like moving his pillow, tumbling, tossing, shifting and lowering, thumping and flattening and molding it to the ever varying requisitions of his throbbing temples. Throbbing temples means the sides of his head, and there is the pain in the either sides of his head. So, what Lamb is trying to say here is that a sick man becomes restless on his bed. Sometimes he acts quirky and whimsical because of the discomfort, and tries to soothe the pain by changing body position, by changing his pillow on his sick bed. He tries to gain some comfort by changing his position on his bed. Next he says, he changes sides oftener than a politician. Now he lies full length, then half length, obliquely, transversely, head and feet, quite across the bed, and none accuses him of tergiversation. Within the four curtains he is absolute, they are his mare clausum. He changes sides oftener than a politician. Now, this is one interesting statement where Lamb says, a sick man changes sides on his bed more than a politician. Now he lies full length, then half length, obliquely, transversely, head and feet, quite across the bed, and none accuses him of tergiversations. Tergiversation means, this is a Latin word, and in English it means deviation. His changing like changing sides. Now he lies full length, then half length, obliquely, transversely, head and feet quite across the bed. Just as politician changes his opinions, his statements to suit the occasion, a sick man also changes his sides on a bed to suit his comfort, and none accuses him of tergiversation, and nobody blames him. Within the four curtains he is absolute. He is absolute in his room, within the four curtains, within the sphere of his room. They are his mare clausum. Again, a Latin legal term that means it is used for a see that is under the rule of a particular country and not open or accessible to other states. So what Lamb means here is that the four curtains of his room are his mare clausum, a closed sea which is beyond reach for other people. Only a sick man rules within that region. Again, a very interesting comparison drawn out by Lamb. How sickness enlarges dimensions of a man's self to himself. He is his own exclusive object. Supreme selfishness is inculcated upon him as his only duty. Now here Lamb speaks of how sickness makes us one more selfish and self-centered than usual. He says, paradoxically, how sickness enlarges the dimensions of a man's self to himself. A man becomes supremely selfish at this stage, at the stage of sickness. 'Tis the two tables of the law to him. He has nothing of but how to get well. What passes out of doors or within them, so he hear not the jarring of them, affects him not. 'Tis the two tables of the law to him. Now this two tables of the law is a biblical reference of God's law. So he behaves as if he is acting out of a God's law, which only allows him to think about recovery of his health. What passes out of doors or within them, so he hear not the jarring of them, affects him not. What is happening outside his sick room is none of his concern. He becomes completely unaffected and unmindful of outside activities. A little while ago, he was greatly concerned in the event of a lawsuit which was to be making over the marrying of his dearest friend. Some times ago, before Lamb fell sick, he was worried about his friend who was involved in a lawsuit, in a court case. He was to be seen trudging about upon this man's errand to 50 quarters of the town, at once jogging this witness, refreshing that solicitor. The case was to come on yesterday, and he is absolutely as indifferent to the decision as if it were a question to be tried at Pekin. Lamb says he's talking about a case of his friend, and he was helping him in that case. He was going from here and there to help this man in arranging the witnesses and negotiating with the lawyers, with the solicitors. The court case was to come on yesterday, and he is absolutely as indifferent to the decision as if it were a question to be tried at Pekin. But just before the actual date of decision of case of his friend, he became absolutely indifferent to the case. Peradventure, from some whispering going on about the house, not intended for his hearing, he picks up enough to make him understand that things went cross-grained in the court yesterday, and his friend is ruined. Peradventure means by chance, from some whispering going on about the house. By chance, he overheard the talks that were going on in his house regarding the case, that his friend had lost the case and he is ruined and he had suffered a great loss. And his friend is ruined, but the word friend and the word ruin disturb him no more than so much jargon. He is not to think of anything but how to get better. He's like completely forgetful of his friend's situation, and even this sad information about his dear friend losing the case do not disturb him. He is being completely forgetful about his friend and his case. He cannot think of anything but only to get better in health. What a world of foreign cares are merged in that absorbing consideration. And he says all his other worries are mixed in his present sick state. He has put on the strong armor of sickness. He is wrapped in the callous hide of suffering. He keeps his sympathy like some curious vintage under trusty lock and key for his own use only. He says at this moment he doesn't think anything else about anything other than his sickness, and he has put on the strong armor of sickness. He is wrapped in the callous side of suffering. He keeps his sympathy like some curious vintage. He reserves his sympathy only for himself, like curious vintage. Vintage is like some precious old thing, like some precious thing under his security for his own use only, under trusty lock and key for his own use only. He lies pitying himself, honing and mourning to himself. He yearneth over himself. His bowels are even melted within him to think what he suffers. He is not ashamed to weep over himself. He just lies in his bed, pitying over himself, crying and yearning. Yearning means he really wants to have his good health back. He's yearning for his good health. He keeps thinking all the time how to recover from his ill health. His bowels are even melted within him to think what he suffers. He is not ashamed to weep over himself. He doesn't feel shy to weep over himself. He is forever plotting how to do some good to himself, studying little stratagems and artificial alleviations. Stratagems means the plannings and the tactics. He thinks of the various ways to come out of his plight. He tries to devise schemes and tactics to remove his pain and to gain some relief. He makes the most of himself, dividing himself by an allowable fiction into as many distinct individuals as he hath sore and sorrowing members. Sometimes he meditates as of a thing apart from him upon his poor aching head, and that dull pain which dozing or waking lay in it all the past night like a log, or palpable substance of pain not to be removed without opening the very skull, as it seemed to take it thence. Or he pities his long, clammy, attenuated fingers. He compassionates himself all over, and his bed is a very discipline of humanity and tender heart. He makes the most of himself. Since he has nothing to do, he gives more of his time only to himself. Sometimes he meditates as of a thing apart from him upon his poor aching head. Sometimes he concentrates on his pain in the head, which he felt. Dozing or waking, lay in it all the past night like a log, like a stick, like a hard substance in his head, not to be removed without opening the very skull, as it seemed to take it thence. He felt the pain for the entire night, and which he thinks cannot be removed without opening of his skull, opening of his head. Or he pities his long, clammy, attenuated fingers. He compassionates himself all over, and his bed is a very discipline of humanity and tender heart. Clammy means sticky fingers. Sometimes he pities over his weak, clammy fingers. He compassionates. In short, he pities himself all over, and his sick bed has become a very discipline of humanity and tender heart. Tender heart means soft heart. His suffering in sickness has made him kind, compassionate, and soft hearted. I'll continue with the essay in the next class. Thank you for now.